welcome back to What Arty Noobs with General Disturbance. This is a T1 heavy tank. It's a Tier 5 American heavy tank. It's located on the south spawn of Ruinberg, and this one is under the command of Red Dog Alpha 1. Now, he's got 3 marks of excellence on that barrel, and he's going to put it to good use. Game on. Well, this was the Americans' first attempt at making a heavy tank, and it was only armed with a 76mm main gun, which is basically the same gun that you actually find on the M4. So it wasn't particularly capable, but it was a good first try. Now, it was a really heavy tank, this thing. It was 61.5 tons, and it only had 1,015 horsepower from the Wright G200 engine to actually get it to work. A diesel engine at that. Okay, now the 76mm gun, capable of 115 alpha, penetrates 128mm with standard ammo, and with the premium rounds it's capable of 177mm of pen. So it's got a lot of pen for a tier 5, and it's fairly effective, but the problem is that it can only pump out 115 alpha each shot, so it's really not up to some of the tanks tier 6. So if it ever does come across a tier 6 game, or even a tier 7 for that matter, it's going to have problems. Most of the armor is actually located at the front of the vehicle. At the front, you've got 101.1mm on the front of the turret. Front of the vehicle, 95mm of armor. Again, not very strong, and in fact you don't want to angle this one if you can help it, because angling shows the weak sides, because the sides are only about 92mm on the side of the hull, 82mm side of the turret, so it can be penetrated by shots in the right place. Well, that DW2, which is of course a German tier 4, is not going to survive very long, because of course he's going to be out DPM'd. Now, he's in a tier 5 game with tier 4 tanks, but there are bots on the enemy team, and we can show that by actually bringing up the alternate headings. The other thing is, there are bots, but he's actually going after the humans, because of course the humans can kill him. Bots, well, they can kill, and they can be quite deadly, because of course they switch to premium ammo and don't worry about it in the slightest. Standard reload is 3.45 seconds. He's got 2.81, so he's actually decreased his or increased his DPM quite considerably. Now, it is a reduced numbers game, so you're not going to be seeing a huge number of kills in this game, but he's already managed to kill 2 enemy tanks, and he's now proceeding near the enemy cap area, where he expects to see a few more. And of course the ones that have actually gone to the center of the map, a few over there. Now there's an AMX-40 over there, you just see him. That's a bot. Now we can tell that because it has a colon before the name and after it. Of course we have to go to the alternate view to actually see that. It's taken away half his hit points. Looks like the AMX-40 duck has actually gone behind a wall, that's why we can't see him from this range. You don't have to go to the gap. In fact, we've just seen an AMX-13 FL11 that was hiding round the corner of the wall. But that's a bot, so he's now out the game. At least, no, it actually wasn't a bot. That was a real player. What he was doing there, I don't know. Another AMX-40? Is that the same one again? Well, he's gone now anyway. So that's our 4th kill. Now, Red Dog Alpha 1 plays on the Australian-New Zealand server normally, but of course they've shut that down, so now he's got no choice. He either goes to the American server, the NA server, or the South American one, but he doesn't really want to play on the Hong Kong server, because most of the players are Chinese and they don't speak English. Makes it very difficult communicating with them. Well, the Valiant has tried to penetrate him, and remember, the Valiant does have a lot of armor Now he's decided to take out the M8A1, which of course is known as the Scott, or at least it was called the Scott. And oh, he's found a KV1 as well. Now the Valiant's going to be a difficult tank to kill. That's why he might need to use the premium ammo to get through its armor. And in fact, he's taken a lot of damage from that KV1. That was an HE round that penetrated our side. But he's tearing this Valiant apart bit by bit. In fact, that is a bot, or at least, was it a bot? No, it wasn't a bot. Actually, I'm wrong again. That was a real player who was playing that badly. Now, he could use this wreck for cover and hide behind the wreck and just shoot into the KV1. But it appears the KV1 driver is also a real live player, and he just hit us with an HE round and failed. And now he's gone down, and that was his Radley Walters. He's killed 8 enemy vehicles. Now there's only one left, a T-34, and we're down to just 123 hit points. There's the T-34. Okay, just knocked down a fence. And he got him with one shot. He got him with one round. And that is the end of the game. A very good game for Red Dog Alpha 1. Here's the end of battle stats, and that was an ace tanker game for Red Dog Alpha 1 in the T1 Heavy. He rather likes this tank, actually. A lot of people find it a little difficult to handle because it doesn't really have much in the way of armor. But he actually does make it work, even with bots in the game. He says, a T1 Heavy with bots, I killed all their humans, 9 kills and a win. Well, that is very good, actually. I thought each of those ones he was killing, most of them were bots. But no, he was actually taking out the human players instead. He got a duelist for taking down 2 tanks who happened to hit him or damage him. He also got a fire for effect for doing more damage than hit points for his own vehicle. A bruiser medal for getting at least 5 critical hits. In fact, he got 13. A Radley Walters for killing 8 enemy tanks. In fact, he got 9. He was 1 short of getting a Pools medal, but unfortunately wasn't enough enemy tanks left in the game for him to get that Pools. But he could have earned it because he was at tier 5 in a tier 4, tier 4 tanks in a tier 5 game, but he was a tier 5 tank. And he also got a high caliber for dealing the most damage in the game and a top gun for getting at least 6 kills. His win rate was 16,040, which is super unicum and quite a lot more. In fact, I think the sheer number of tanks that he wiped out just goes to show the other guys, the new people in the game, exactly how it's done. Now, people might say, oh, but isn't that seal clubbing? No, it's actually using your skills that you've practiced and practiced and practiced to good effect and showing that, yep, it does work if you play this thing correctly. You can take down a tank like this if you play it badly. If you actually keep your side to the enemy, your weak spots, they will take you down. And yes, he did lose a lot of hit points during that during that game. Most of it actually went to that KV1 who fired an HE round right through the guy's side and actually got a high roll. Well, high roll? I think it was it was a penetrating shot at the very least with HE, which is very bad news indeed. Let's have a look at team score. Well, you can see definitely got the highest damage in the game with 3,087 hit points. Nobody else was really near him. In fact, nobody else managed to get over 1,000 hit points in the game. The next highest scorer being the T1 Heavy on the enemy team managed 983, and that was a real player. And after that, the KV1 on the enemy team, who obviously did penetrate Red Dog Alpha 1, and he got 936 in 3rd place. When it came to kills, nobody could beat Red Dog Alpha 1. He managed 9 kills. Nobody else managed to get more than 1 kill, actually, in that game. In fact, the enemy team only got 4 kills altogether. And we can see when it came to base XP, he was the only player to get over 1,000 with 1,488. And the second place player only had 461 base XP. So that is such a big difference in performance. And it shows that Red Dog Alpha 1 was using his skills. Yeah, people might complain and say, yes, this is seal clubbing. No, it's not. It's not actually. It's practice, practice, practice until you get really good at accurately aiming at the enemy. Let's have a look at the rest of the details. He got the top in all 3 columns, by the way. 38 shots fired, 35 direct hits on the enemy, 32 penetrations. Now, if he really was a seal clubber, his accuracy would be a lot higher, and he probably would have actually got the Pools medal as well. 3,087 hit points of damage, of which 732 were at more than 300 meters. He received 8 hits from the enemy, 4 of those penetrated, 1 non-penetration, and 3 hits by way of splash damage. 110 hit points of damage blocked by armor, 2 enemy vehicles spotted, 10 enemy vehicles damaged, 9 killed. So yes, he could have had that pools. 380 hit points of damage assistance. Now, that would be the spotting, by the way. On a premium count, he actually earned 47,936 credits from this game. He got 25 bonds as well for a mission achievement and 2,232 experience points as well. I think this game is actually a good example of how somebody who really gets good at a particular tank actually can show how effective it can be under the right circumstances. The T1 Heavy is not a great tank. In fact, it was the Americans' first attempt at making a heavy tank. They made 9 versions of them, 9 prototypes, experimental tanks, and it never saw action. Even though they made all those prototypes with little modifications along the way, it was not good enough to actually send into combat in Europe. It was first built in May of 1940, so it was before America was actually even in the war. And they were trying it out because they were trying to design a new tank that was more effective with a turret, with a heavy armor, and with a really, really big gun or a good gun that could actually do the job. And their first attempt wasn't very great. The second attempt was a little bit better. Of course, it was a derivation of the T1 Heavy, and that was the M6. But sadly, even that was not good enough to actually send into combat. So it took the Americans a little while before they actually came up with a heavy tank that worked. And that's why the T1 Heavy is a good tank to practice with, because it's very vulnerable if you know where to hit it. And if you can hit the sides of the vehicle or its rear, then you can penetrate it, you can take it down. So it is vulnerable if it's in the wrong game. If it's in a tier 6 game or a tier 7 game, this tank is going to get really, really badly hammered and possibly taken out the game very quickly. But if it's in a tier 4 game, then it's got a little more chance of surviving. Hope you enjoyed that replay. If you did, please give this video a like. Do subscribe to our channel. Leave a little comment down below because it feeds the algorithm. And thank you for watching.